and welcome into CBS Sports HQ. We are following breaking news right now. Joe Mixon reportedly reaching a long-term deal with the Bengals, 4 years, $48 million. The 24-year-old running back had a bit of practice recently. It was reportedly from migraines, but there was speculation, of course, it could be because of contract negotiation. The Bengals head coach Zac Taylor actually spoke with our Pete Prisco here on HQ, and he said to expect Mixon back soon. Sure enough, he was back today, and with a new contract on the table. The Bengals expected to rely heavily on Mixon this season. Of course, he was part of that 2017 draft class with a bunch of talented running backs. You see there at the very top, Christian McCaffrey, who got paid, Zeke, Le'Veon Bell, David Johnson, Derrick Henry, now Joe Mixon, the 5th highest paid running back in the league now. All right, let's bring our NFL insider, senior writer Jonathan Jones with us. JJ, tell us what you know about the deal.
Yeah, reportedly it's going to average around $12 million, which, as you just alluded to, Amanda, is going to put him in the top 5 in the NFL at the running back position. He's not going to be in the top 5 very long, though. Whenever the Saints and Alvin Kamara get to a deal that is obviously most certainly going to eclipse $12 million per year, I believe Dalvin Cook with Minnesota, if that happens this offseason, which, we're going to see, I think we're closer with Kamara than we are Cook right now, that one will eclipse it. So top 5 right now, probably going to be top 7 maybe by the time week 1 rolls around. But an obvious move there for the Bengals, who had the cap space this year. They're not spending it on anyone else. They only have 4 players that are making more than $10 million in the 2020 season. Next year, they only had 3, I believe, on the books. Now Joe Mixon makes 4. This is where you obviously maximize your championship, if you will, window with a rookie quarterback. And since they are underpaying Joe Burrow thanks to that rookie scale contract, the Bengals are obviously trying to build toward the future. You may as well lock in the guy who, in the past 2 seasons, has given you 1,400 yards from scrimmage in each of the past 2 years. So Joe Mixon, I think those headaches might go away now that he and his wallet are feeling a lot better.
Yeah, suddenly all of a sudden he feels much better. Took some Tylenol, signed a piece of paper, will sign the piece of paper, and is now a very wealthy man. You know what we say about running backs here, at least what our Pete Prisco says, that they're not worth a whole lot. He says run him to the ground, get rid of them. Given everything you said, though, JJ, was this correct move for the Bengals?
Yeah, I understand the move. I mean, he's been solid for you through his first 3 seasons. You're not breaking the bank for him. He's not really getting the sort of money that's close to Christian McCaffrey or Ezekiel Elliott. So you're not really out of step with what the market is. Listen, I agree with Pete. For the most part, you shouldn't pay a running back for the most part. But, this is a pretty normal deal. Again, $12 million per year. Top 5 right now. He's going to be top 7 in just a little bit. He still has plenty of tread on his tires. You're the Bengals. Like, where else are you assigning money right now? Obviously, the defensive line, A.J. Green, in a big sort of prove-it year for him coming off that injury. And again, Joe Burrow, the future of the franchise, the guy who hopefully will be there for the next 15, 20 years. Make sure that you surround him with weapons. And so right now, Joe Mixon is that weapon going into his 4th season. You're the Bengals. You don't have anywhere else to spend the money. Spend it on the guy who in the past 2 seasons, more than 2,800 yards from scrimmage.
Talk to us about your expectations for him this upcoming season, what you think we should see from him.
Yeah, well, I think that he should be getting the ball in his hands a lot more, obviously out of the backfield. But also, I would expect to see him get a little more involved in the passing game as well. And I'm excited to see what sort of concepts Zac Taylor is going to bring over from LSU, and Joe Brady, now the offensive coordinator with the Carolina Panthers, that was able to turn Joe Burrow from a day 3 quarterback in what would have been the 2020 NFL draft to the surefire, far and away, #1 overall pick. So I think that would obviously involve getting the running back involved in more passing routes and passing concepts. And so that's what I would expect more from Joe Mixon. He is one of your most reliable and best weapons on the offense. So let's get the ball in his hands even more in 2020.
All right, everything good for Joe Mixon and the Bengals. Jonathan Jones, thank you so much for hopping on with us for this breaking news. Of course, you can expect our guys on the Pick Six podcast to be breaking down this news along with everything and the ongoings in the NFL as we inch closer to the beginning of the season on the Pick Six podcast. JJ, thanks again so much for joining us. All right, still to come on CBS Sports HQ, Joe Mixon, according to reports, agreeing on a 4-year extension for the Bengals with $48 million. What does our Bryant McFadden have to say about this? And maybe who's a little upset by the deal? We'll tell you in 60 seconds. And we're following breaking news here on CBS Sports HQ. Joe Mixon's migraines might have suddenly disappeared because he is now a wealthy man, according to reports, agreeing on a 4-year deal, an extension worth $48 million with the Cincinnati Bengals. The 24-year-old running back, as I mentioned, had someone been missing practice because of migraines. Of course, there was speculation. Maybe it had something to do with ongoing contract negotiations. Head coach Zac Taylor said you could expect him back soon. Soon enough, he is back and with a new contract. And with that new contract, that makes Joe Mixon now the 6th highest paid running back in the league, right behind Derrick Henry. Let's bring in two-time Super Bowl champ Bryant McFadden to talk about this. B-Mac, your initial thoughts on the deal?
I like the deal. I love Joe Mixon as a player. He means a lot to that organization. I think he really showed his worth last year. When you look at some of the numbers he put up, granted, it wasn't his best year, Amanda, but yet and still was able to surpass 1,000 yards in a very, very bad offense. You know, missing A.J. Green. Offensive line play was very, very inconsistent, but he was the one bright spot on that offense, and he's deserving of a new contract going into his final year of his rookie deal, second-round draft pick, I think, from 2017, so clearly he was set up to hit the free agency market. And with the Cincinnati Bengals, you know, putting a lot on Joe Burrow's plate, he is the face of the franchise. You need to have a reliable running back for Joe to rely on, not to mention the ability that Joe has displayed, Joe Mixon, it is, catching the football out of the backfield. He's a do-it-all type of running back, so this is a nice deal for the player and clearly a great deal for the organization.
You know, right before we came on air, you asked if he was getting paid more or less than Derrick Henry. He's just behind him. Derrick Henry at $12.5 million annually. Joe Mixon now at $12. Is this a fair deal for him, would you say, compared to the other running backs in the league? Is this right about where he should be?
Well, I think so. I think Joe Mixon, he's he's a real good player, but is he an elite-like running back? Is he in that category? No, not just yet. I think he has an opportunity to be an elite-like running back, especially with the offense that he's in improving in other aspects, you know, being able to block well, being able to find pass catchers that are healthy, to be able to open up running lanes for him. We didn't see that last year because everything was kind of stacked in the box because you didn't have no A.J. Green. The quarterback play was inconsistent. You had Tyler Boyd, but yet and still everything else was very, very inconsistent in that offense. So I think he has an opportunity to be in that elite-like category, the Ezekiel Elliott's of the world, the Christian McCaffreys of the world, Derrick Henry. He has an opportunity to be in that direction, but he's not there yet. So clearly he was okay in taking this deal, not being in the top 5, not being in the top 3. He felt like this was a deserving deal for him, and because of that, he signed on the dotted line. And clearly the organization, they have no problem in making him the 6th highest paid running back in per year salary in the National Football League.
All right, I want to ask you about Alvin Kamara because he was in that 2017 draft class, as was Dalvin Cook, both of them looking for new contracts. But I specifically want to talk about Kamara because we have been talking about him recently sitting out of camp because of contract issues, according to reports here. So is he looking at this? Is he a little bit frustrated by this? Or is he like, hey, give me more money. Let's make something happen?
I think he probably would be frustrated at the fact that Joe is his peer. They were in the same draft class, and the organization found a way to put a smile on Joe Mixon's face. I think there lies an opportunity to see some frustration coming from Alvin Kamara's camp. But would he be willing to take $12 million per year? I don't think so. I think I would say the same for Dalvin Cook, just throwing out my assumption. I think both players, Dalvin Cook and Alvin Kamara, clearly would not accept $12 million per year. Now, those organizations that they play for, the New Orleans Saints and the Minnesota Vikings, if they felt like those two players would take $12 million from that organization, I think they would sign that instantly. But these two players believe their value is higher than the $12 million per year that we just saw Joe Mixon agree with the Cincinnati Bengals. So I think that has been a very, very difficult process. And because of that, we saw Alvin Kamara in camp with the New Orleans Saints, and he decided to remove himself away from camp because he hasn't been happy with the negotiations so far.
All right. Brian McFadden, thank you so much for joining us here on CBS Sports HQ to talk about this breaking news. Joe Mixon and the Bengals agreeing on a new deal, 4 years worth $48 million, according to reports. All right, so we are inching closer, if you can believe it, just 9 days away from the start of the NFL season. We are previewing a team every single day here on CBS Sports HQ. Today, it will be the New England Patriots. What we can expect from Bill Belichick without Tom Brady, and is Cam the guy? He's dancing at practice. He sure looks like it. Tomorrow, the Dallas Cowboys. What about their new head coach? And then Thursday, the New Orleans Saints. They've had some issues. We'll see what they're looking like, and can they actually win the NFC? All right, still to come on CBS Sports HQ. We are not done talking about Joe Mixon, his new deal with the Bengals, sticking around for another 4 years. What does it mean for his fantasy value? We'll talk about that next. Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.